Republican Seniors of Minnesota. We bring seniors 50 plus together.
Learn about and discuss issues that are important to Minnesotans. Hear from our elected officials and experts on public policy.
Meet political candidates, elect delegates to district and state conventions, and help elect Republicans to office at all levels.
We believe in and advocate for the principles of personal responsibility, economic prosperity, peace through strong national defense,
and limited, sensible government. Republican Seniors of Minnesota. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Let's get started here. Welcome. A special welcome to those who are attending via our video live stream, which is now live and on air. I see from the sign at the back. I'm Carol Brumwell. I'm the chair of the Republican Seniors of Minnesota. I'm your MC for this meeting. This meeting is being live streamed today and also recorded by our video volunteers. A few quick meeting courtesy reminders. Turn off or silence your cell phone, please. Set it to vibrate. Don't put it on the table. When it vibrates, it goes like this. If you are seated next to the beverage area there, you'll be off camera. So wait for the microphone, and if you get the microphone, move a little towards the center so people can see you. The side conversations, please take them outside that back east lobby door and close the door so that it doesn't echo in the room. Do wait for a microphone. It's a large room, even though you think you have a loud, booming voice, which I think I have. It gets just swallowed up in the room. So wait for the microphone in order to make comments or ask a question. Sound check. Are you able to hear me, John, in the back of the room? Chuck? Able to hear me? Okay. And our past chair, Mike Lehman, here is running our soundboard. If sometime you are not able to hear, please raise a hand and he'll work at getting the sound adjusted. Please join me in an opening prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather for a meeting. We thank you for each and every one who is here today. Please bless our speakers this day. Help them to communicate clearly the wisdom they have to share. We pray for those in government office, especially our Minnesota legislature who will be starting session today. Help them make laws to protect our freedoms so that we can live peaceful, quiet lives in godliness and dignity. We pray for the judges across our land, from the local level to the high courts. Help them to judge wisely and fairly. Please give them wisdom and discernment to balance justice and mercy. As seniors, O God, health concerns seem to arise daily. If not our own, then those of close family and friends. Be with each person in need of healing. Grant us the skill to listen with compassion to the concerns of others. Today we especially ask you to bless the doctors, surgeons, nurses, and those you have called to study and practice the art of healing. Please make them extensions of your healing hand. strengthen them in body and soul, and bless their work, that they may give comfort to those in their care. Please grant the medical team's wisdom to know the best course of action to relieve pain and promote healing. God of peace, help us to see in all others the gifts they are employing to carry out your will. May we have a spirit of camaraderie in this room and as we work together on our shared mission. Amen. We'd like to acknowledge our military veterans and active or retired police officers or first responders. Will those people please stand to be recognized? And now will all of you please stand to join us in Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. If you have a 30-second announcement that you'd like to make, there will be time at the very end of the meeting, just before the door prize drawing, for you to make those announcements. We have the room until noon, so you are welcome to stay for additional conversations, or if you weren't able to get your membership renewed, do that after the meeting. Our membership is now active for 2025. New rate is $25 for an individual, $40 for a couple. The meeting fees are still $5 for members and $10 for non-members. You can renew today, renew by mail, or we will still continue accepting dues in February or at any other live meeting. We urgently need some additional volunteers for Republican seniors. If you'd be willing to serve, please see me. We've regretfully accepted the immediate resignation of 2 of our dedicated board members for health reasons. Steve Anderson, who has been working with Don Patton on arranging our meeting speakers, had open heart surgery in December, at the end of December. He is recovering, but he is not able to continue as a board member. Sarah Amadon, who most of you have seen many times at the back room collecting meeting fees, and she also arranges all of our website and email communications, is no longer able to attend meetings in person, has given us her resignation. She will be able to provide some coverage for meeting notices, etc., from home. Until we can arrange for someone else to take on that role, she will help train that person. We wish both of them good healing and comfort. The board is meeting today, and part of our discussion will be appointing interim board members. Our elections are in April, and so with this said, we will be needing to elect at least 4 new board members in April. If you would consider serving a 2-year term as a board member, please step forward, talk to me. Mike Lehman here will be running the nominating committee. And we will really appreciate if you can serve as a board member. The descriptions of the various board roles, the board decides among themselves who's going to handle which role after election. The descriptions of the board roles are on our website. They're part of our Constitution. On the About page, at the very last line, there's a link to our Constitution, so if you want to read up more about that. Board role is about 10 hours a month, maybe 15 hours a month for the chair. We also need back-of-the-room volunteers for accepting meeting dues and membership fees and just generally serving as a greeter and checking in. Those roles could start immediately. That's about 3 hours a month from 9 to noon on our meeting day. We'd like to be able to have 4 additional people so we can rotate people around. We finally need 4 additional volunteers to connect with the chair and executive teams of each congressional district. We still need to connect to CD 1, 4, 5, and 8. So if you'd be willing to serve as the connecting point for those executive teams in the congressional districts, we'd appreciate you stepping forward. The State Party of Minnesota has new leadership effective January 1st. Alex Plekesh was elected to the role of party chair by the State Central Committee in mid-December. I've extended an invitation for Alex to join us at any of our meetings. I hope to hear back from him that he'll be able to attend in February, March as a speaker to give us some comments. I understand that he is on his way to Washington, D.C., either today or tomorrow for the inauguration. My understanding is that Anna Matthews will not continue on as executive director. I have not seen any official announcement that she is no longer in the office. Her face is off the state party website, so we'll listen for that. Donna Bergstrom is continuing as deputy chair, and we have a new state party secretary, Joy Orvis. Our group has been volunteering at the MNGOP offices doing envelopes. We had been meeting on third Thursdays for that. I know that the timing of that is going to change. We don't have a date for January, so don't show up on the third Thursday or at MNGOP. And I will announce in February or as soon as I hear more information about when they need us as volunteers. Our first speaker today is Boima Freeman, and he's the senior financial fraud investigator for the Minnesota Department of Commerce. He's also a volunteer with AARP. He's got some useful tips on avoiding online and telephone scams and other fraud. Welcome, Mr. Freeman.
Hold your applause until I'm done. And I just want to say I have some exciting news today. The department has handed me $2,000 to give out to a special individual, but thank you. Maybe you. And all I need is your last 4 digits of your social security number and your date of birth. Boom. It's yours. Okay. All right, you didn't fall for that. I'll try another scam. But that's what fraudsters will do. See, in face-to-face, if someone states that to you, your antenna goes up, right? But for some reason over the phone, individuals are being coerced to send in funds, to send, thousands of dollars, sometimes close to $1 million or more, to individuals that they've never met. So today, my presentation is about 45 to an hour long, and I only have 15 minutes, so I'm just going to skim over a few things. If I'm talking too fast, it's because I don't have time, so please let me know if you can't hear me. No, I'm going to slow it down, but I'm going to touch on some key points, okay? So I'm a fraud awareness and prevention specialist. I'm a senior financial fraud investigator. For 16 years, I was with a large bank within Minnesota. For the past 8 years, I was listening to phone calls of fraudsters that had your social security number, had your date of birth, and they were pretending to be you. So I know the tactics that they use, and I know how to stop it. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today. And now I'm with the Department of Commerce. I know you're thinking to yourselves, what does the Department of Commerce has to do with banking? So basically, the Department of Commerce is a consumer protection agency. I don't know if you've been to a gas station recently. You'll see the stickers on there, just making sure that Minnesotans are paying for what they get. If you're weighing something at Target or at Cub Foods, we're making sure that you are paying for what you're getting and everything, it measures up. That is our commissioner, El Capitan, Grace Arnold. So we deal with debt collectors. If you have issues with your insurance, you can certainly reach out to the Department of Commerce. Energy, weights and measures, as stated before, credit unions, notaries, automatic teller machines. We regulate all of those. Licensing, telecommunications, but senior financial fraud is happening. How many people are getting text messages saying UPS had issues delivering your packages? Delete those, right? A new government grant and you qualify for it from a Facebook friend that you recently met. Delete those. So I'm excited about this law. So it's a cryptocurrency law. Have you ever been to the gas station and seen the lotto machine and then you saw where you could pay for your tabs? Well, right next to it, there's a machine you don't really know what it's for, and it's Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. So individuals were being coerced into going to those cryptocurrency machines and putting in upwards to $50,000 at one time, and those funds are completely gone because what the fraudster would do is tell you to scan. First, they'll tell you to go to your bank. Tell your bank a story about how, you need to do house repairs. So be leery of that. If someone is telling you what to tell your bank over the phone and telling you to be secret about it, know that it's fraud. Please hang up. If you don't know who is on the other line, please hang up. Have everything go to voicemail. That call is not that important. I know we're at home. We're not doing a lot. Family members are not reaching out to us, so that void is there. And that's what fraudsters prey on. So this law provides a refund of a total transaction if reported within 14 days. Prior to that, the money is gone. Now it's being held. And a daily transaction limit of $2,000. What that let us do is then I will call the individual after receiving the financial exploitation form and explain to them how did this conversation start. Oh, it started off with a message. Have you ever received a message that was from someone intended for someone else, and you decided to be nice about it and message the person saying you got the wrong number? And then all of a sudden you receive a picture of a beautiful lady and now you're in love? That's how it starts. So be leery of those. And then it requires operators to post warning signs stating that if you do post funds on this account, in this Bitcoin machine, the funds are gone. But good thing about the law is it's held for 14 days. So the agenda for today that we're going to speed through is trends in scams and fraud. And if you want to be a con artist, I would tell you how to do that because I have a playbook that they use, but don't do it, please. Some prevention and then some resources as well. So if you are aware of a scam or a fraud tactic, you're 80% less likely to become a victim. So what I like to tell people is if you receive a text message and you realize that it's scam, please let someone else know because they're going to receive those text messages. Just like with the UPS mailing, the Amazon package delivery, right? The message from someone else that you don't know, the government assistance program, AARP, Medicare, A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F. There's so many out there, right? And you'll start to receive those calls. So please be leery of those. And if you are a victim, but you are aware of a scam, you're 40% less likely because what happens is after you send in the first $2,000, you're like, this may be a scam or this sounds like something I've heard about before. So you will stop sending those funds. And so awareness is key. The more you know about fraud, the better it is to protect yourselves because I stated before, I've worked at a bank and someone by the name of Barb will call sounding just like me, born in 1939. And as long as they have the social security number, the date of birth, the mother's maiden name, the last 4 digits of the account number, and sometimes they don't even need all that information, they will be able to access the account. So be leery of that. I used to hear phone calls where there were roosters crowing in the background and the person stated they were from Minnetonka. Anoka maybe, right? But, so they're just doing customer service and they're not fraud experts, so they're not listening to the voice of a customer. And I want you to do me a huge favor. If you go into a bank a lot and you speak to tellers, make sure you get to know them. Tell them a story about yourself so that they can know you. Because the day that you go up in there flustered and you have your phone to your face because the fraudster is on the other line and they're telling you what to say, that person can say, hang the phone up, let's talk for a second because I know you. I know you don't need $65,000 in cash to go and pay for some mortgage or to go and pay for a house repair because last week you told me your house was just fine. So know who you're speaking with at the bank so that they can protect you in the future. And if they say, no, we cannot give you $75,000 to send out a wire, please, they're only looking out for your best interest. If they're asking additional questions, they're only looking out because I know individuals that have gone into the bank before and taken out sometimes $35,000 in cash and no questions were asked. Or questions were asked and something was told and the individual after I speak with them stated, I wish I had listened or I wish they would have tried harder to stop me from taking those funds. So please be leery. So the trends in fraud and scam, if you haven't met the person face to face, do not send them cash. Gift cards are only for gifts. The IRS will never call you and say pay with a gift card. You shouldn't have to go to Walmart to Target and get $25,000 worth of gift card, take a picture of that and have to send it into the IRS, okay? So when you hear that, know that it's fraud. And wiring funds. People are sending money, $75,000 to $100,000 to people that they don't even know, and the bank is questioning that. And you may think, normally I hear, it's my money, I can do what I want to do with it, which is true, but the funds that you're sending, you're funding terrorism, money laundering, and sometimes sex trafficking or paying for wars. And that's when the government comes into play. I know individuals that have been arrested before because they continue to send those funds. And then your financial institution, due to risk, will basically get you out of the system. And then now you have cash that you can't do anything with. And banks do talk. So individuals that are in these scams have left various banks and gone from bank to bank and are still falling prey to this. I know someone that I'm speaking with right now that is in love with Elvis Presley. I know. And Elvis has left the building, a long time ago. So please be leery of those. Anyone watches Yellowstone? I have a few that are in love with Kevin Costner. And fraud does not care who you are, your color. They don't care about your sex. They don't care who you voted for. They're after you because of your funds. Why? You've worked your entire lives at this particular age. And you have money. You have disposable income. And let's face it, we're generous, right? Minnesota nice. We want to give. And I want you to be extremely careful around this time of the year, because what happened in California, it was a natural disaster. You're going to start receiving text messages saying that you can help the victims. Do not do it unless it's reputable, unless you've done your research. Maybe go to your church and donate there, and they can have someone with boots on the ground. But charities are about to pop up. So top scams in the U.S. currently. Identity theft is when someone steals your information and pretends to be you, calling the bank, Barb sounding like me, born in 1939. Or they're applying for a vehicle or a house loan. Imposter scams, someone pretending to be from the Minnesota Department of Commerce. Someone pretending to be from the FBI, and they will throw terms at you so that you can think I'm a member of the FDIC, or I have someone who is actually sending funds because she was coerced to take in money out of her account and not tell the bank because someone there was stealing, so they needed her help. But she purchased gold, up to $180,000 worth of gold. And another lady purchased $870,000 worth of gold and met someone in a parking lot and provided it to them. I know you're stating, like, how can they fall for this? The scammers know. They may contact you in a moment where you let your guard down. Maybe you're extremely happy that day, or maybe you're extremely sad. Maybe you received news from a doctor, and now you're in a heightened sense of emotion, and they will prey on that. So please be careful. Online shopping is another one. Christmas just passed, and you'll receive a lot of text messages saying something is on sale. And another one that should be here but isn't is the romance scam. It's prevalent. Another one that isn't on here is your family members will take advantage of you. I have someone currently whose son goes to a casino and writes himself a check for $25,000 on a weekly basis, and he gambles that away. She has the funds to cover it, but at some point, the funds are going to run out, and that's where we come into play. Because at my department, there is a law called Chapter 45, and we can stop the bleeding. If you know someone who's like, my granddaughter steals my card, and she tells you that in confidence, and she doesn't want to say no, or he or she doesn't want to say no, you can go online and fill out a form. We keep that confidential, and we reach out to the individual to protect them. And if we cannot protect them, we get law enforcement, adult protective services, because we want to keep your money. And that is the worst one, whereas the romance scam tugs at the heart. For me, because it's like someone is making you fall in love with them, and there's some general in Iraq, but for some reason they never come to see you. So I have those that I'm dealing with. So please be leery of those. So we've talked about the imposter scam. As I said, we're just going to keep going. And please, just because the call ID states it's from U.S. Bank or it's from Wells Fargo, it doesn't mean that it's from that company, because individuals will spoof a number to pretend as if they're calling from there. And if you want to speak with a company and you go to Google and you Google a number, fraudsters are paying Google to have the number show up first that is a false number. So if you want to call a company and you have paperwork, go back to that paperwork and give that number a call. Investment scams are another. Lottery scams where you've won the lotto, but you have to pay the taxes up front. You may not have even played the lotto and they're saying that you won. I don't know any lotto that works that way. So, and then be leery of the tech support scams as well. If you're on your computer and you're playing something for free, solitary, and a notification comes up saying fraud, 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 or scam, or you have a virus, and there's a phone number for you to call, do not call that number. Close the computer and take it into a reputable source like Best Buy or some place like that, right? Where someone can scan that computer for you, because what will happen is that number that you're calling is not a tech agency. They're not with Microsoft. But they will tell you that they're with Microsoft, and after they remove the malware that they've placed on your computer, they will ask you to go ahead and log into your banking system in order to pay them. When you put in your user ID and you put in your password, they have that information because they're looking at everything that you're doing. And that's when transfers begin. They'll take funds from your savings account and throw it into your checking account, and then tell you that you've overpaid them, or oops, we made a mistake and we overpaid you as a refund. Now they'll coerce you to go to your bank in order to take those funds out, and that's when they keep you on the phone. And then after you've taken out the $25,000 or more, they will then have you go to a cryptocurrency machine, scan it, and put the funds in. Or they'll have you mail those payments out. So please be careful. If you hear anything like that, please, my number is going to be on the screen at some point. Call the Department of Commerce. Speak with me. If you think something is fraud, we're there to help. We have your back. And a lot of people, if I was to step outside and come back in here and told everyone that I was robbed at gunpoint, right? Everyone's going to be like, oh, my goodness, that was so sad. Well, are you okay? But if I was to walk outside and said someone approached me and I just handed them money and I come in here, what are you going to say? How could you have done that? You're stupid. You're crazy. And that's what people do to individuals that have been scammed. And it makes them shut down because, so we have to have the same compassion. If someone is telling you a story that they've been scammed, don't judge them. Maybe ask like what happened that day that could have led you to, have been vulnerable to that particular scam. So right now, your cell phone is a gun. Your computer is a gun because they're using that to rob people. So please be careful. The hybrid romance and investment scam is one of them as well, because what starts off as basically her sending me the photos would have led to her asking me to, make a trial deposit. And then he or she will send you a graph saying that your $5,000 has made $55,000. And what happened? Greed sets in, because you're like, if 5,000 can make 55, 25 could make. But then after a while, you're like, can I get my money back now? Can I see what I've invested in? And that's when it becomes where they'll say no, or they'll become threatening. We're going to call the cops to come and get you. Now, I know a lot of people that have been arrested before. The cops have never called them and say, hey, what are you doing? We're on our way. Unless you're a billionaire or something, yeah, then, and it affects both men and women, so please be leery of those. Like I stated, the lotto scams, you've won. You must pay your taxes and processing fee up front. The call, I used to listen to these phone calls, and I would picture something just like that, because as I'm listening to the phone calls, I'm hearing the same conversation happening on the side of the other individuals. And sometimes, please, if you've ever contacted your financial institution and they've placed you on hold, do not say anything bad about whoever it is that's on the phone with you, or the financial institution, or anything private, because those calls are still being recorded. And I would hear fraudsters coaching each other. But all of a sudden, he's like, hi, my name is Barb. And then as soon as they place him on hold, he starts to talk like me and saying, that it's a scam and how the scam works, because he's training someone else on how to do the scam. So please be leery of those as well. So the con artist playbook, we're going to talk about that. Like I stated before, there's a recipe that they use. It's heightened sense of emotions. Do this now, or else you're going to lose out. Isolation. The conversation will start on your regular phone, and after a while, they want you to move on WhatsApp or Telegram, because they can delete those messages at any time, and those messages are encrypted. They will start to form a bond with you. If someone is talking to someone for a consistent basis for 6 months, and they're now in love, imagine me calling from the Department of Commerce saying, please stop sending this person $50,000. Right? This is a scam. That person has built so much trust, and now I have to break down that trust. So then I become the person who call me at any time. I have an individual that calls me every day saying that the fraudster are continuously reaching out to her. And once you fall in for a scam, they're going to sell your information to someone else, whether it's your email address. And if you receive emails from any company that you've never done business with, where you've never walked into Kohl's and provided them with your email address, please do me a huge favor. Do not unsubscribe. Because if you unsubscribe, it's basically I'm knocking on your door and you open the door and says, no one is here, and then you slam it in my face. I know that someone is there because you've opened that. And then clicking on the unsubscribe, you never know what that could do, because there's a link that takes you onto another website. And please stay within the banking system as well. Have the bank send out your bill pays. Have the banks, if you're sending a payment to someone, you can send Zelle. Because if you're going into PayPal, if you're going into Cash App, that's you putting your user ID and password within that system, that's your bank, that's for your bank. And do two-factor authentication. Sign up for text alerts. If any time someone spends anything, if it's a quarter, you'll get a notification. Because if you see it right away, you know something is happening. If you ever see 0.50 cents deposited into your account that you did not initiate, know that someone has your information, because they're doing trial deposits. And then they're going to start, they'll just do little by little. And if you don't pay attention, they'll start taking big funds. And by the time you realize it, the funds are gone. And most people say, well, my funds are FDIC insured. Sure, they are. However, if a fraudster coerces you into going into the bank and taking out $50,000 or more, and then you have that sent in, the bank is not liable for that. And you're going to be out of it. And what they will do is tell you to go get a loan. I know a lady who took $50,000 of a loan, and she sent it to a fraudster because they basically drained her. People are losing their homes. They're losing everything, because of this. And all of this, the financial loss, it's worse because I have 4 minutes left. Okay, cool. We'll keep going. Thank you for that. I feel like I'm a presidential candidate. Okay. Okay. They will also, the tactics that they use, phantom riches, right? My uncle just passed away, who was a chief in Liberia, right? But in order for me to get the trillions of dollars that is in the bank, all I need is your bank account. Profiling. Anyone post on Facebook? You post your information, you just lost someone, you just received an inheritance. Don't do that. Fraudsters are looking at your Facebook pages, and now they have a clue as to who you are, and they're going to try different scams on you. Scarcity, they'll say, if you act now, you can win, but if you don't, you're going to lose out, and you're thinking, I don't want to lose out. So be careful of that. Fear and intimidation. I always tell people, she's like, well, he's in love with me. I'm like, sure, he's in love with you, but please do me a favor. Tell them that you're not sending any more money. See what happens. And that's when they start to we have your computer, we have your bank account, or, I'm with the government, we're going to come and arrest you. Just tell them, say, come on, I'm waiting. Just come and arrest me. They're not going to. Matter of fact, I'll call the cops for you. So, if you don't mind, and the profiling portion, if you don't mind me asking, how long has your husband been deceased? Right? Let me ask you something. It sounds like you have a wonderful home there. How much is your mortgage each month? When you look at that question, that's an innocent question, right? It's not. Thank you. Because with that information, if I know you're paying, $5,000 maybe for a mortgage, that's a nice home. And I know your name, your date of birth, because that's public information. I know where you live. That's public information. I can call the bank several times, the 24-hour banking. I will find someone who's not paying complete attention, and they're going to let me slide through because I know your mortgage amount, because that builds credibility. So be careful. The banks are protecting you, but I want you, everything that I'm stating here today is for you to protect yourselves, you to protect each other. Tell your family members, if you have fallen victim to a scam, do not be afraid, because what's the worst that can happen? You may get judged, but so what, right? At least I'm not going to fall for it again. So I'm just going to speed through. This was something that fraudster stated. He stated, once I got a hold of a victim, I would never let go. Even when they told me they were out of money, I would never let go. Go borrow the money. It's what they will do. And people have fallen for this and have gone and gotten some more fun. I know I'll tell you a quick story, and I'm going to stop this. And I have 2 minutes left. She she was the one that purchased the gold for $870,000. The fraudster told her that this was fraud. I'm sorry I did this to you. Do you know that after he stated that, he then told her, it's because my family members are in trouble and I need to leave the country. I'm in a third world country and they're forcing me to do this. She was still willing to send him some additional funds to help his family. And I had to tell him, like, first of all, you don't know who you're talking to, right? Everything now, you should know that it's a lie. But he preyed on her. He used affinity, you know, where it's like, oh, I'm a Republican, so send me some money, right? Or it was a church, so she was trying to get him to go to God because he stated he was Muslim. So I'm just letting you know, they will use extreme tactics in order to get your money. Chances are they're not across the street. They're in a completely different country and don't even know who you are because they're running a racket. They're running a scam. And most people say, I was talking to someone and she stated, why don't they use that for good? But what job do you know is going to pay you $870,000 for like minimum work? So that's what they'll use. So I thank you for today. There's a lot of information on here. I'm just going to speed through real quick. So prevention, make sure you monitor your accounts. Check your credit reports often. There's an annual credit report that you can get. And remember to stay within the banking system. Avoid making a financial decision in a heightened emotional state. Screen your phone calls, please. Develop a refusal script. Find a way to hang up the phone. Elvis is calling me. I got to go. And you protect your personal information. Make sure you don't give your password out. Shred sensitive information and monitor your bills. If you have 5 bank accounts, make sure you only use one for bills. That way you're not looking at all 5 of them each month. So share what you learned today. Don't hesitate to report a scam. Have a conversation with your family. If you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. I think I have a few seconds left. And if you know someone you've been, if the victim of fraud, call 877-908-3360. I have some literature that I will leave in the back, and it basically tells you this information. You can post it on your refrigerator, post it on your car, post it anywhere, just have it there, post it by your phone so that you can look at it as a reference. If someone calls, you can say, oh, that nice gentleman from Commerce. If he was from Commerce, he could have been a fraudster. Because nobody vetted me. No, I'm just joking. Carol did. But yes, that's my time. And I appreciate your assistance. Appreciate you coming today. Appreciate you listening. Thank you for being so attentive. And I thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Boima. I hope that you're able to stay a little while after our meeting. Thank you so much. If you have questions or comments, you can meet him after the meeting. As he said, he will be putting literature on the back table there for you to pick up that has his contact information. Our next guest speakers are Phil Krinke and Christopher Sears. I have a special announcement that Minnesota Voters Alliance has asked me to make before you guys speak. And I have the details up here at the podium. There is a Supreme Court hearing tomorrow about the Senate District or Congressional District 40B, House of Representatives election that Phil and Christopher are going to speak about in a minute. And that Minnesota Supreme Court hearing is going to be available online. You can watch it live streamed from the Supreme Court website, and I have the link here. So that's tomorrow morning. And then afterwards, Minnesota Voters Alliance is having a buffet luncheon in St. Paul at DiGidrio's restaurant. Thank you. Everybody else knows this place. It's on West 7th Street. So that's at 11 o'clock. They'll have the attorneys there to talk about what they presented. They'll also have Mark Coran and Representative Walter Hudson there. So we are invited to attend that. There's a mention of a donation that's an optional donation. Andy Silic asked me to make sure you understand that. They would love to have a lot of seniors come and meet other people from Minnesota, other Republicans from Minnesota, and hear about this case. Now I'm pleased to welcome Phil Krinke, he's a former Minnesota representative. He was a representative from 1991 to 2006 in the Roseville area, and that is now the area that is District 40. He's going to give us some insights on the upcoming legislative sessions. He's brought with him a speaker on behalf of the Republican candidate for House District 40B, Paul Wickstrom, and they'll add their insights on the race from last fall and the current run for the special election that is currently scheduled for January 28th. So please, Phil and Christopher, come on forward.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. It's great to see that we have people who don't worry about the weather, the cold, and the inevitable loss of the Vikings last night. Anyway, I tell people I gave up on the Vikings in 1978. I think that was after their fourth Super Bowl loss. But anyway, I just, again, I've been involved in Republican Party politics for 50 years. Anybody beat me in terms of political involvement for 50 years? Okay, great. So keep on trying is the theme here. Just like the Vikings, there's another election coming up soon. So don't give up. Let's just keep shoulder to the wheel. I want to talk about two elections, and then I'll turn it over to Chris, who has been directly involved with Paul Wickstrom's campaign in 40B, actually where I live and part of the area that I used to represent. Number one, talk about the Senate District 60. This is where the Kara Dietzig senator just passed away in December, and again the governor calling a special election, which is going to be held presumably on January 28th. I say presumably because this is the issue that's being litigated, and the Supreme Court's going to hear oral arguments tomorrow. Anyway, moving on. The challenge there is this is in the city of Minneapolis, otherwise known as a desolate wasteland for Republicans. But anyway, the chances that we have there are very slim to elect a Republican. It's probably an 80-20 district, and there are two Republicans running in the primary, which is today, and there are 8 Democrats running. So it's pick one, okay? I don't think it's going to make much difference in terms of what whom is elected and what the outcome is going to be. Likely a Democrat, likely a very left-wing Democrat in Minneapolis. The other race of concern is in Shakopee 54A. That's the race where the Democrat Brad Tapke won by 14 votes. And, of course, we all know that elections in Minnesota are obviously very fair, very regulated. And I don't know how 20 ballots disappear, but I guess the Democrats can make anything happen. So this was announced, the judge decision in that race of whether there was going to be a special election or another election. The judge declined in that seat, so there will be no special election in that district. So Brad Tapke, as you may have heard, was sworn in a secret meeting on Sunday night. As I said, again, ladies and gentlemen, my experience is they will do anything. The Democrats will do absolutely anything necessary in order to govern. So it's disheartening, but it's true. So as I said, don't give up the fight. Don't waver in our diligence to help govern the state of Minnesota. So those are the two races that I don't. Number one, the Tapke race in 54A in Shakopee, decided, done, over. There's nothing really more to do there. Again, District 60 Senate seat in Minneapolis. almost concluded before it even starts that a Democrat will get elected there. In my House district, 40B in Roseville and Shoreview, we had an amazing gentleman by the name of Paul Wickstrom, who fought an amazing election fight, and what he did is he found that Curtis Johnson, the Democrat candidate, did not live within the district. Had a long drawn out battle with that. Anyway, the judge decided that he was not eligible as a candidate, and so now we have a special election in 40B, and I'll let Chris, who's been closely involved in the race for months, describe what's going on currently.
Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it very much, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here. Paul wishes he could be here. As you can imagine, he's a little busy right now. It's been a little nuts for us. We have many fundraisers. We have many meetings much like this. I have the good fortune of being a cybersecurity professional. I've spent 20-some-odd years doing that, a little bit in the Army too. And I happen to be the guy that led the investigation that apparently blew up the whole state. So good times. We got a word in early September from a former city council member of Roseville saying, hey, you know your opponent doesn't live in the city. That's a BS story that he lives in some rundown apartment off of Rice Street. And we're like, oh, okay. So a ragtag group of grassroots, and this is the kind of message that I want everybody to take away. We have a gal who's approaching 70. She's a social media monster. She pulled every background, every history of our opposition and brought it to the table. And then we have another gentleman. He's also listed in the court case. I highly encourage you guys to go and look out at MCRO. Maybe I can connect and get you guys a link to that. It's a great case. Ragtag grassroots got together and drove by Curtis's house because it's a free country and it's an open road, and he kept living in Little Canada for the entire time that that he was running from 40B, which, by the way, it's 2.8 miles out of the district. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. We started to assemble all of the metadata, and then we went to the lawyers after the election. And we said, what do we do here? They said, well, you need to assemble all of the data. And this is residency is one of the hardest things to prove. It's extremely hard to prove. Because if he shows up here over at the apartment and he has all these other things that he's doing at the apartment, kind of like an office, it's going to be tough for a judge to call it. Go read the judgment. The judge was so flabbergasted by this, and realized the judge was appointed by Walz. Take that for what it is. It was so incredibly clear with the evidence that we assembled, again, a ragtag grassroots group of 4 or 5 people. Paul actually kind of distanced himself from the investigation for obvious reasons. He's out trying to win hearts and minds, right? From that, we were able to bring this to court. The lawyers did their job in assembling the case. I testified. The other members of the team testified. And the judgment was very clear, and then the whole state blew up. It was interesting, though, because of what they had Curtis do. Again, back to the fraud and back to they'll do anything. They had Curtis resign. Has anybody resigned from a job they haven't even started or even gotten signed up for yet? It's really good time, I've heard, but clearly, and it breaks my heart to say it because my uncle is Steve Green from up in northern Minnesota, and he has the same stories. But here's what happened: is he resigned. And then the governor used a different, completely inappropriate law. This is what the thing that's happening tomorrow is. Oh, well, I had a guy resign. Oh, special election. I'm going to write a writ, and that's how we got the special election on the 28th. If you read what was put into the Supreme Court, and this is all public stuff. It's hard to find sometimes on MCRO, Minnesota MCRO. Go and read that. Go look at that. You'd be very impressed with the detail that, not our campaign, by the way, Minnesota GOP, HRCC, they're the ones doing that work. The campaign's position is as follows. We have a chance to change hearts and minds. We are dealing right now with thousands of disenfranchised Democrats. People that are realizing, I've been towing this line for generation after generation. The hair keeps getting more colors. Things keep getting weirder at our conventions. They keep saying that I should turn my backyard into a bunch of tiny houses. I'm not quite feeling it. And that's happening in our district right now, in Arden Hills, where I live. We have an opportunity to win this district. It is a 2-1. We lost by 30 points. The reality that I'm seeing when I sit up at Flaherty's and visit with my neighbors, or when we're out on the street knocking on doors, is they are so pissed that they've been defrauded again and again and again. So I'm kind of an olive branch guy. For as much as I like to throw bombs, I kind of try to take the olive branch mentality. Reach out to your Democrat friends in District 40B. That's Roseville and Shoreview. And if you know your friends or you know your family there, simply say, aren't you tired of being defrauded? Aren't you tired of being lied to? I mean, look, this guy, Paul Wickstrom, he's not some extremist, right? He's not out there saying we deport everybody and we do all this and we do all this. No, he's talking about the very basic things that apply to all of us. Having a little bit of trust in our government, actually caring about our taxes, like not having to pay more all the time, maybe having our fourth graders in the state of Minnesota not be at the same level as Alabama. No offense to Alabama. How about we don't spend 6 times as much per pupil to have the exact same results as Alabama fourth graders? In other words, not able to read. How about we have graduation rates that are not in the 90 percentile, but less than 60% are even ready to attend trade school? Those are the things that are resonating with our friends and our neighbors in 40B. And so that's the approach that we're taking as a campaign. Fortunately, there are a lot of other organizations out there that are going a little stronger, to put it nicely. They're making memes and they're doing all sorts of fun stuff, going up against the even more extreme guy, this Gottfried person. I think he identifies as a guy. I don't remember. He came out as bisexual, married to his pansexual wife, who was with Antifa. I'm still figuring it out. There's a lot to figure out there. There's other groups that are spending a lot more time digging into that. That's who the Democrats nominated on New Year's Day. It doesn't make any sense to us, but we're really glad they nominated him. We're looking forward to the challenge. Now, is it a blue district? Yes, it is. But like I said, that disenfranchisement is resonating, especially for our seniors. Because quite frankly, they're tired of paying the machine. They're tired of being lied to. So that's kind of where we're standing at right now. I would normally want to be able to stick around and answer questions about the investigation. But sadly, I have a couple of personal obligations with my career that I have to run off to. Please go look at Wickstrom for House, WIKSTROM, forhouse.com. Get involved in Paul's campaign. We are going to need, this is going to be what keeps Minnesota House of Representatives at 68 votes. We win this, we break the trifecta, we have the House for 2 years at least. And I think during these next 2 years in CD4, where I'm actually running for chair for CD4 soon, I think that we can actually hold this district because we're going to win hearts and minds of the people that have been defrauded for generation after generation. They've been told blue no matter who, even the guy that doesn't live in the damn district. It makes no sense. So wickstromforhouse.com, that's where you can get all the information at. We're all over Facebook. And with that, I want to thank you guys for having us today. I am sorry that Paul couldn't make it today. You had a quick question? I think I got a minute still. No?
Number 4 or FOR?
Great question. FOR, thank you. Yes. wickstromforhouse.com. Google it too. I think I got that one right. I don't have my sticker on me, so very good. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate you both coming to speak with us about the upcoming session and the challenges that we are facing just to have the majority we expected. And now, I'm happy to welcome our featured speaker, Adam Verhoff. He's the Minnesota field representative of the Leadership Institute, Turning Point USA. He's based in St. Cloud. He'll tell us about the organization's efforts to form chapters at the high school and college level here in Minnesota, some 2024 voter registration successes nationwide, and he has some information that I am sure is going to surprise you. Adam was raised in Missouri, went to college there. He joined the Army for 5 years from 2015 to 2020. After that, he was a mortgage loan officer for several years before joining the Leadership Institute in the summer of 2023. In his career, he's passionate about teaching financial literacy and leadership skills. And on a personal note, his LinkedIn profile says he's a sports fanatic and a pop culture junkie. Please join me in welcoming Adam Verhoff.
Well, thank you so much for having me, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here. My job, I can't do anything without having community members and community leaders that are willing to host me, listen to me, ramble, kind of hear what our mission is and help. Because I work with high school students. I think a lot of you have probably heard of Turning Point USA. That's who I work for. We have a college side and we have a high school side. I kind of started off doing the college side, going to different campuses, and that has its own challenges, but one of the easier parts of it is you can just walk onto a college campus, set up a table, and start trying to engage with students. It's free speech. It's a public university. Obviously, private campuses can be a little more finicky about it, and they can try to kick you off. But public universities, anybody can show up, set up a table, and just start talking. With high schools, it's not quite like that. Obviously, we don't just want any Joe Schmo walking into the schools where our children are at, so can't quite do that. So for me to get involved in a high school, I need an in. I need a student, a parent, a teacher, a school board member, a janitor, like really anybody at that school that is somewhat interested in Turning Point or wants maybe to see if there's any interest at the school for it, or a student that's gung-ho about us. Just as long as I have something like that that can get my foot in the door, once I have that foot in the door, things get pretty easy. That's when I can start scheduling meetings with the administrators just to kind of ease their worries. A lot of times administrators will hear through the grapevine about us and not really know anything other than just kind of what they've heard from social media or maybe some of their progressive friends that call us far right or fascist or whatever label they might want to put on us. So a lot of times just simply getting into the school, getting a meeting with the administrator, once they meet with me and realize I don't bite and what we're doing is all just pro-America things, once they realize that we're not a big boogeyman, we're not the KKK. Once they realize that, then they're like, oh, wow, my preconceived notions were all wrong. We'd love to have you here. You know, yada, here's kind of our guidelines. And that's what I've kind of gathered over the first year being here in Minnesota, is schools are pretty reluctant at first. They'll put up a fight. But once they see what we do and see one of our events and how the students interact, then they love us. So kind of a little bit about myself. She gave a great introduction for me from my LinkedIn page, but the thing about me is I was never political. I'm young still. I'm just turned 30, so I never cared about politics. Like she said, I love sports, pop culture. I cared about girls, making money, music, movies, that kind of stuff. And obviously the pandemic changed that for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people my age, like we weren't really brought up with a real sense of civic duty and the importance of our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. And my generation, our whole lives, we lived in this post-World War II bubble where our lives have been great here in America. My generation, we've really never known a whole lot of strife here on American soil, or even the recessions we've had, like back when the housing bubble bursted. It wasn't really enough for us when I was a kid. There were no bread lines. The prices for McDonald's didn't skyrocket. Gas didn't, so we didn't really notice anything. Now, when the pandemic hit, it was finally something that it affected everybody, from the lockdowns to destroying small businesses, shutting schools down, forcing you to wear masks, go into a restaurant, take it off to eat, and then put it right back on, all that crap. So that really got me paying attention to politics. I started paying attention to the players, the politicians, learning their names, who's on each side, who stands for what. And I think it took me all 15 minutes to go, I don't know if every Republican out there is the greatest person, but I do know when I listen to the Democrats, they're full of crap. It doesn't matter. Everything they say, I'm just sitting there how does anybody vote for these people? It's just crazy to me. So I knew I had to get involved because I was living in Missouri doing mortgages, and the mortgage industry was plummeting. It was tanking big time. And I could kind of see that on the horizon. But I spent a year kind of spending a lot of money trying to stick with it, trying to advertise myself. And then at a certain point during the pandemic, I think, I don't know exactly when, but it was a mainstream news outlet trying to push the idea that trans women are basically the exact same as biological women. And it was no longer this situation of, let's just be kind, give them dignity, treat them with respect in society. It was, no, they are women. And that for me was when I was like, no, I've had enough, okay? And I was like, I got to get involved. I'm tired. I'm not passionate about mortgages. Like, when I'm done with work, I don't care about it. This is what I'm passionate about. I care about my country. I'm seeing everybody in my generation just falling for the propaganda. Kids younger than me hate our country, so I want to do something. So I ended up leaving my job. That's where I got with the Leadership Institute, which is just like Turning Point, just a little bit less money, I think, involved with them. So they got my foot in the door doing that with colleges, and then I started working for Turning Point a year and a half ago on the high school side. And the most rewarding thing, especially with this election win that we just had, I can tell you there were lots of moments where I thought, did I make the right decision? You know, once the mortgage industry kind of turns back around again, I could be making some buku bucks here, but winning that election, definitely, it was really good to be like, okay, there were some results that I could see we did make a difference, especially with the youth vote here in Minnesota. So I'd like to talk to you guys, sorry for that long intro, I'd like to talk to you about kind of what we do at Turning Point. We are a grassroots organization, so we focus on changing the culture. Charlie Kirk, who's the founder of Turning Point USA, and my boss's 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 boss, when he founded us back at like 9 years ago, he knew that politics is downstream from culture. So you're not just going to show up on college campuses kind of screaming your political ideology and change anybody's minds. You have to change the culture. So he wanted to create an organization that spread pro-America conservative messaging to a younger audience and did it in a way that would grab their attention, let them have fun, that's the big thing, and get them engaged at a young age. And so obviously we started with college age. As that blew up a couple years ago, I think 3 years ago, this will be our third year, they started the high school department, and that's been blowing up. The demand is crazy there. And why we love the high school department is we found that if you wait till some of these students get to college, they're already communists, they already have blue hair, and it's almost too late for some of these kids at that point. They've been indoctrinated. So if we can get to them when they're 15, 16, 17 and instill some pro-America messaging, teach them the Bill of Rights, why it's important, how that piece of paper is kind of saving us right now while we watch Europe putting people in prison for speech, we're protected with that Bill of Rights. So just educating them on the importance of that, and then getting them out in their school, in their communities, and giving them materials and training to not like we don't have high school students out there debating with adults on politics. That's the last thing we want, is some 17-year-old getting in an argument with a full-grown adult on politics. But what we do have them do is we figure out what each group is passionate about, and then we provide resources for them to go either put on an event at their school that they can plan, or if they just want to do something simple like set up a table at lunchtime and pass out literature. We have all of those resources, so pamphlets, giant poster boards, stickers, buttons. We have a whole design team that designs all that stuff, and we print it and ship it to the students so they have everything they need. I will be there to kind of facilitate and help out at every chapter event that I can. A lot of chapters kind of get to the point where they don't really need me anymore, and sometimes they're like, no, we got it. And that's great, because that means I can be off starting other chapters and helping some of the new chapters that need more help. But for any chapter that needs me, I'm always there, and I'll be there to help them. And a big question we get is kind of like, what kind of events are we talking about? What stuff do you have? Let me touch on this real quick, because this is important. So we are a non-profit. We're a 501c3. So what that means is while we're doing Turning Point stuff, we technically cannot endorse specific candidates or legislation. Now, we do have partner organizations under Turning Point, like Turning Point Action. We have a couple of, by other names that I can't remember, that do get directly involved with campaigns. So they're 501c4. So it's all about taxes and legality of it. So they can get more involved with campaigns and candidates and that stuff. Us on the 501c3 side, we stick to pretty much generic pro-America messaging, pro-conservative, pro-capitalism, pro-free markets. that kind of stuff. Now, being that Trump is president-elect, that's no longer considered like partisan because he's president-elect. So like, say you had a Republican legislator get voted in and you want to have them come speak to our students, we can do that because he is an elected member. Now, if he was running for office as a Republican, things get a little bit hairier there on what they're allowed to talk to our students about because of that 501c. So I just want to make sure everybody kind of understands that while I'm out there with the students, we won't be wearing MAGA hats or anything like that, but you'll probably see videos of like Charlie Kirk on a campus with a sea of red hats. That's because they're doing it through Turning Point Action, one of our partner organizations, which I'll just explain. So kind of just the difference between high school and college. High school, these kids are younger. They don't really have any experience out in the real world. Some of them have jobs. Most of them haven't even ever gone to a job interview before, so leadership skills is big. We want to send them out in their schools or their communities talking about pro-America values and kind of what we represent. We want to make sure that they're able to do it. They're able to speak, make eye contact. And I know that sounds silly, but I was talking to somebody in the back earlier before the meeting started. A lot of these students, just kind of the way they grew up, a lot of scrolling on phones, a lot of antisocial behavior. The lockdowns set them back a couple years as far as their socializing. So just getting some of these kids just some experience speaking in front of a group, I know that sounds dumb, but it goes a long way with some of these students and helps set them up for success. And when they're out, saying our talking points out in public, they sound much better, they look much better. So we like to instill that in them. College side is a little bit different because everybody's over 18, everybody's an adult, so they do a lot of, they're trying to change minds on the college side. In high school, what we're looking for is we're looking to identify already kind of conservative-minded students, and they're going to kind of take the reins, and then they're going to go and kind of find the students that have never been exposed to anything civics related and try to educate them, try to pull them in, try to make sure that they're patriotic and they don't kind of go that other direction and hate America. So what is a high school chapter? We have a couple different options for students. So some people might ask, what if the student's homeschooled? What if they go to a private school? Can they still start a chapter? Absolutely. So with homeschool students, what we like to do is what's called an activism hub. It's the exact same thing, just a different label on it. And then we also use activism hubs for, say, a chapter. Their school will not play ball with them. They won't let them do anything on campus. They won't give them approval. They're just like, no, we don't want any politics, or whatever BS reason they give, which they really don't have a whole lot of legal ground to stand on. If the students really wanted to get dirty, we could fight them. But most students don't want to ruin a relationship with their school right before they graduate. So if they don't want to go to battle with the school, what they can do is start an activism hub. And all that would mean is they're doing everything just not on school grounds. So we would find ways to get involved out in their community. There's a whole litany of things. As you can imagine, any day of the week, any weekend, there's things going on around the Twin Cities. Anything from, I know it's wintertime, anything from farmers markets to concerts to, whatever. We can get out there. We can get permission to set up tables. We can get permission just, some things you don't even need permission. You just go walk around and talk to people. We can be like little Jehovah's Witnesses, but for America. Like, you have time to talk about our Constitution today. So yeah, activism hubs are great. I know it sounds a little lamer, but just so we can tell them apart. And I've had in the year that I've been doing the high school side, I've had a couple schools just not want to play ball with us, so we just started an activism hub. Another thing that we can do if, say, a school has some negative view of Turning Point USA and they just don't want to allow us, what we can have students do is basically they'll just start a group and they'll name it, like, let's say the mascot of their school are the Cardinals. They just be the Cardinals for Liberty or Cardinals for Freedom. And then we would just provide all our resources and they could just use all our stuff. They just technically wouldn't be Turning Point through the school. So we do have ways to get around that. And just so kind of everybody knows, when I say that schools don't really have a whole lot of legal ground to stand on, the Supreme Court has ruled that a couple things. One, when a teacher and a student go into the school, they don't lose their freedom of speech. So the student still has their freedom of speech when they go to school. And the second thing is they ruled on equal representation, meaning if the school is allowing groups that are politically like left-leaning, progressive groups, LGBTQ groups, this kind of stuff, they have to allow conservative groups. So that's a big thing. If your grandchild, nephew, son, daughter, niece, anybody is saying, well, they allow all this other garbage, but they literally like, all I'm trying to do is start like a constitution club and they won't let me do it. And I've heard this exact example before. Well, yeah, that is trash, and that is not that is against the law, and the Supreme Court said they can't do that. So, and again, that kind of comes down to, does the student want to put up a little bit of a fight? And of course we understand if they don't, they're about to graduate, they have a couple, or maybe they're not about to graduate, maybe they're a sophomore, they have 3 years left in that building and they just don't want everybody in there to hate them. So that makes sense. What do chapters do? A lot of times, like when talking to students that really never heard of us, that are conservative and would be great to be part of Turning Point, it's like, okay, you guys set up tables and you like have literature that people can grab and you talk about. Like, what else do you guys do? It's not all just boring civics. So the big thing, like I said at the beginning, Charlie wanted to make sure that it was a way that students, it was fun, because these students have a lot going on. They have school, jobs, they're applying for colleges, other groups at the school. So this has to be something that they want to do and that's fun, or else no one will participate. So that's one of the big things. So we let each chapter determine how active or inactive they want to be. Obviously, I'm going to encourage everybody. I'd love for them to be out there, a couple times a month, doing a couple events every semester. But if they're busy in a small group, if they just want to do one meeting every couple weeks, one event a semester, that's totally fine, and I'll support them through it. But that's the big thing, is we like to have them maybe like twice a month meet in the school, if the school will allow it. The events, activism in the community, and then we have national conferences. We have one that we just did that I'll talk a little bit about. We did just right before Christmas. And then we have a couple in the summer that we send mail, one for males, one for females, to learn different leadership skills. So as far as like the events, meetings are pretty straightforward. They host a meeting. That's where they can, every meeting have a different topic, what's going on in the world, what are we passionate about, any big news in the news that we want to discuss, and they can plan for the events that they're planning, speakers that they might want to bring. We have a whole list of free speakers that work with Turning Point that will come fly out to us. We just have to get the request in and get it approved and everything. So with the events, they can be as imaginative as they can be. So we provide a whole bunch of pre-made things for different events that they can do if they want. So say they're passionate about the Second Amendment. Well, we have a pre-made activism kit with Second Amendment stuff revolving around firearms, firearm safety, or kind of more, if they wanted to go the wildlife route, conservation route, we have that kind of stuff. But let's say they didn't really care for the pre-made stuff that we have. Well, we open up the doors for them to plan their own things, and then we give out activism grants. So if the students plan, let's say that example, they're really into Second Amendment, but they don't like the kit that we have prepared, for whatever reason, and they want to go paintballing to kind of just like, a fun event that's kind of centered around firearms, where they can talk about firearm safety. They can, before they go out and play, they can talk about muzzle awareness, and, we can make it about it. So kind of how Turning Point works is, as long as we can tie the event back to liberty and freedom and the Bill of Rights, they'll pay for a lot of this stuff. And it doesn't have to just be what Turning Point offers. So if the students can find a venue and they plan the event, it can be a bowling trip, a movie night, you name it, Turning Point will pay for it. We just have to be able to tie it into our mission, which I guess I should say our big mission is just spreading pro-America messaging, basically pro-Constitution and pro-free market capitalism. Those are the two things. If you had to boil it down or read the mission statement on our website, that's what we stand for. So as long as we can tie anything back to that, students have pretty wide range to plan their own events, and we'll pay for it. That's kind of the same thing as the organizing activism in the community. If they wanted to do things, if they wanted to do different activism ideas, then like I said, we could plan it, get it paid for. And then also, with that being said, anybody in here, if you're ever running for office and you need volunteers, they can't do it as Turning Point students because that would be partisan. However, if you ever wanted to send me an email saying you're looking for volunteers, I can send that to all of my students, and then in their own free time, if they choose to go help you and volunteer, they can do that. So I can definitely be like a middleman to help get information out. It's just not something they can do while wearing Turning Point gear as a Turning Point event, if that makes sense. So definitely I'll have like all my contact info if anybody ever wants just to push info out to students. I can be that middleman to kind of get information. Just kind of go into each one of those real quick. You can look at the pictures. I already said that. So meetings, they're just going to get together, briefly talk about what's going on in the world. Every chapter is different. They all do their meetings different. When I first get them together, I try to kind of teach them how a business would run a meeting. You have somebody keeping minutes, keeping track of what everybody's talking about, just kind of teach them the ebb and flow of it. Usually it kind of, once they take the reins, it gets a little less formal, which is totally fine. They're high school students and we want it to be fun, so we don't want it to be some boring meeting. So they get the hang of it and it turns into really fun. It's kind of actually really funny to stand in and watch a group of teenagers do this mixture of semi-formal, semi-unformal meeting. It's really funny. But they gotta start somewhere. And again, we have a whole bunch of speakers. We have contributors. You can find all that on our website, but a whole bunch. Some you will know, some you wouldn't know. Like we have names like Riley Gaines, the swimmer, who is big against keeping trans athletes out of women's sports. People like Officer Tatum. I don't know if you've seen any of his content online. Trying to reach out to like the African American community and try to show them why he thinks conservatism is the best way to go. He does great content. He's one of our most sought after speakers. So I'd actually say if we don't get a request in for him in the next 2 weeks, we probably won't get Officer Tatum. He's loved. Our national conferences. So the big one we do every year is called AmFest, or America Fest, AmFest for short. And we spend a lot of time recruiting, organizing, and planning this. And then during the summertime, we have our youth leadership summits. We have one for boys and one for girls, where they go and they learn leadership skills. They also learn kind of what goes into campaigns. They learn kind of behind the scenes of politics, what's going on when someone's running for office, what goes into that, what are they doing, what are their teams doing, how to canvass areas, things like that. And then AmFest, what AmFest is a giant celebration. Let me see if I had a slide on here for that. I don't think I did. No, it's okay. So AmFest, we just did it December, and down in Phoenix, Arizona, it was a big celebration. So every year we just want to get everybody together in one spot to celebrate America. That was kind of Charlie's idea when he first started it. And this year was a lot different because, as you can imagine, years prior, where there's a lot of feelings of uncertainty, oh my God, what does the future hold with this current administration? The election coming up. Well, now that we knew the outcome, this one was a lot more feeling of optimism. The future looks bright. Everybody was there with a smile on their face. And I think we had about 20,000 all told came through, and most of that students. That did include media and stuff too. So it was awesome. The convention center was just massive, and they did such an amazing job detailing the whole thing for Turning Point. So every wall had TPUSA decals on it and cool. It just looked amazing. And then, so kind of how it was you went down the escalator, and we had our big media row. So going both directions, as far as you could see, were booths with every conservative media outlet you could think of. Fox News, Breitbart, you name it, they were there. And so that was really cool. While I wasn't working, getting to kind of sneak over there and shake hands with some of the people that worked for some of those companies, and actually got to watch, I got to watch Glenn Beck performing live. I got to watch... Bannon. Was it Natalie Winters, who sometimes goes on Steve Bannon's show? And when he was locked up, I got to see her perform live, so that was cool. But then past the media row was our auditorium, where we had a big convention center with all, tables on tables on tables of vendors of everything you could ever imagine, hundreds and hundreds of them. And then past that, we had our big stage room, where we just had speaker after speaker after speaker, from Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, legislators to celebrities, and we even had Antonio Brown from the Pittsburgh Steelers and Rob Schneider, the actor, just all sorts of names, basically just celebrate America, kind of talk about how crazy the Democrats are, and everybody had a good time. And the big thing for the students, though, so the students, we reserve a whole bunch of hotel rooms for them. Anybody that needs help getting down to Arizona, we offer travel stipends. So now it takes a little bit of time to get approved, so we start doing that early, but we offer money to help them fly down there, get the hotels. Food is one thing that they do have to get on their own, but it's one of the first times they're ever away from home, and they're around a whole bunch of other like-minded students, and it's so funny to watch them because they kind of treat it like they're at like a sporting event or like a concert. They're all hooting and hollering, and they got signs, and they're all head to toe red, white, and blue. And these are all students, 18 to 16 years old, so it's really great to see. And we had a pit. The section seating right in front of the stage was the pit for the students. And it was like a student section at a concert or a sporting event. It was so fun to watch. Like they had Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire. My student from Coon Rapids was in the pit wearing a cowboy hat. And Michael Knowles at one point came down and took his hat off his head and put it on his head and was taking photos with it and ended up, giving him his hat back. But my student Josh from Coon Rapids just loved it. He was, thank you so much for, pressure. Because I was like, bro, you have to go. You are the student here in Minnesota that I know would have the most fun at this event. You don't have a whole lot of like-minded kids at your school. You need to go be around some students that also you share values with. And afterwards, it was nothing but thank you so much for talking to me into going and yada, yada, yada. So if you have anybody in your life, and heck, it's not just students. There are 20,000 people. So my own parents said they're going to go next year. And I would encourage everybody to go. It was so much fun. And we had, I'm sure anytime Trump rallies happen, there are those people that go to every single one of them. Kind of like concerts when they go on tour. A good band, you have the groupies that go to every single one. Well, we had those, and they said nobody does it like TPUSA, they said. And this is my first time going, was just before Christmas. And one of my jobs was ushering, and I was basically the whole time was a line person, making sure nobody cut in lines, making sure, herding cats essentially. And I got to talk a lot with some of the people, the regulars, if you will. And they say, we go to these rallies, when Trump was campaigning, we went to a dozen of them. They're like, no one does it like Charlie Kirk. So definitely recommend getting down there. It's a 4-day event. You don't have to stay for the whole 4 days. Even coming for 1 to 2 days would be worth it. But AmFest, I was blown away. I spent 6 months recruiting for the dang thing. And when I got there, I was like starstruck. It's cool. So real quick again, what do we do? What do we do to provide students? We do grants and stipends. So that's anything from getting down to our conferences to the grants to put on activities and do fun events in their communities. You get a full-time field rep. That's me, I think, is what they're talking about there. Yeah, so I actually have Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. It's a big region. The bulk of my work is here in Minnesota around the Twin Cities. I've made a couple trips out to the Dakotas. I've got some chapters out there. They're pretty self-sufficient. And trust me, I'm working on getting out there, but the demand that I'm seeing, because we have a website, students, if they want to get involved, they can go and put their information in. It's all coming out of the Twin Cities area. Ever since the election, we're booming around here. So if you're any doubts in your mind about the culture, it is shifting here in Minnesota, and we're seeing it with students just coming online and putting their information in, definitely. And then materials and resources. I have a box in the back. I just brought a very small amount of just some of our stickers, just in case anybody wanted to just kind of see some of the stuff. They're all different themed of just different topics, different controversial issues going on. We make little buttons and stickers, and they're fun, and I have some back there that you can see. Yeah, so the chapters get access to all that. They actually can go online, and anytime they want, they can order more, and it just gets shipped right to their house. We have reward programs for the students, like Patriot Rewards. Every single month, I nominate chapter leaders or members of the chapter that I think are going above and beyond, and we give them rewards. One of my students got a really nice camera because he was the one that I nominated for the whole semester. So he got the bigger reward, and it was a really nice camera he ended up getting from it. So Now, the ones I do every month are smaller things. You're not going to get a nice fancy camera, but it's a cool little program, and it keeps them incentivized to stay active. And then legacy chapters. We want to make sure when students graduate, they don't just the chapter falls apart. We want the next generation of leaders to be stepping up. So we're constantly recruiting the next class of the leadership board, and we want them to be, that's what a legacy chapter is. They just keep going. And the longer a chapter stays with us, the more rewards they can earn. So when I say activism kits, say they order our Second Amendment kit and it gets shipped to their house, what they're going to see, it's going to come in a box, and they're going to have everything from, these are big, it looks small on here, big foam boards. I know these are not to scale. I promise they're not the same size as the pins. But they're going to get big foam boards, bright, colorful. They're going to get pins, stickers, flyers, a whole bunch of stuff so they can go out there, educate people, talk about important issues, and do it in a fun way. And then we also like to do things like we don't own the materials, so we have to order it. But if we're going to be out in public somewhere, we like to order an inflatable axe throwing thing. So there's something fun to draw people in. A football throwing. So those Party City type companies that'll help put up those things, jump houses and stuff. So we'll order. It's like they aren't real axes. They're they stick like Velcro. But it just draws people in, and you can talk about the Second Amendment and promotional events. So anytime one of our chapters puts on any event, we have a team that will make specialized graphics for them. And as soon as they start a chapter, that same team makes them a banner and a tablecloth with their specific school logo on it, their school name, everything, their chapter name. So they get specific branding for them. And our team puts all that together. So say they're bringing a speaker to their school, we'll make awesome flyers with their picture, the speaker's picture, the school name, where it's at, all that good stuff. So we're constantly making sure that we're marketing the students well, and we provide all that for them for free. Educational resources. So our website, anybody, you can go to tpusa.com. That's just our regular website. But then if you go to tpusa.com/high school resources, you can see everything that they get access to. And a lot of it are things that they can use during their meetings. It's cool videos, games, interactive games that are just revolve around these kind of topics, just ways to keep it fresh and fun and talk about important things. Because I think a big thing with my generation was, like I was saying, we were kind of co-parented by Hollywood and smartphones, and we didn't get a whole lot of values instilled in us about our Constitution. So we got to try to make it fun, or else these kids just won't care.
Can we get your contact information?
Yeah. Actually, I will have to say it out loud. So my phone number, I do have some business cards I'll put in the back. But please, if you know anybody or you specifically want to reach out to me, my personal phone number, you can text or call me. It's 573-353-4866. And feel free to text, call, whatever. And then my email is it's going to be my name, adam.verhoff, Verhoff. It looks like Verhoff. adam.verhoff@tpusa.com. And definitely feel free to shoot any students my way, any parents my way. Feel free to shoot me any questions. Or if you know any students and you don't remember my phone number, literally they can just go to tpusa.com, and there's a little portal where they can put their information. And when they put Minnesota, it'll filter them to me. And then they'll come into my database as a lead, and then I can reach out to them and try to schedule a meeting or phone call. But again, thank you guys for listening to me. The culture is shifting. The pendulum is swinging. The conservative students are starting to stand up. They're not afraid anymore. We're fighting back. We're getting these kids groups in their schools so they have a voice. Things are changing, and I appreciate everything you do. Definitely send me as many students as you can if you think they'll be at all interested in this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam, and thanks for the terrific progress that has been made in shifting culture. Our next meeting is February 11th. Our featured speaker has changed from the one that was previously on our website. Our featured speaker will be Tom Hansen, who is a retired diplomat. He'll be talking about events worldwide and the Trump effect on our relations with foreign countries. As you set up your 2025 calendars, please be sure to mark our second Tuesdays, 10 a.m. meetings. Those dates are on little cards that are at the back table. I used to miss these meetings all the time because I didn't get them on my calendar. Get your calendars updated, folks. Now, are there any guests or first-time visitors here today? Do we have a microphone for them? John, microphone up here, please. Raise your hand. Just all we're asking for is your name and where you're from.
Hello. Most of you are military, and I made the mistake. I raised my hand. Ronald, and I am from Edina, Minnesota.
Thank you for coming today, Ronald. Now, in addition to tomorrow's Minnesota Voter Alliance Luncheon, I have some events up here. I've got information about the inauguration events on the 20th. On the 20th, the Minnesota Young Republicans are having an evening happy hour to celebrate the inauguration. That's in Eden Prairie at Fat Prance Brewery, and I've got the information about that. Be aware that there is a special election coming up on the 28th. In addition to the one for 40B, which our speaker spoke about, there is a Senate District 60 special election. The endorsed candidate for that election is Abigail Walters. There is a primary being held today where she has a opposing Republican on the ballot. If you know somebody who lives in northeast Minneapolis, please ask them to vote in the primary and make sure that they do vote on the 28th. Let's see if we can get the Senate majority. It'd be a stretch, but we want to try. Remember to tell a friend or neighbor about the Republican Seniors of Minnesota. You're our best resource. I have an idea forms up here. If you have an idea for a speaker or a topic or an event that you would like us to host to try to get to know other senior Republicans, let us know. We will have, this meeting has been video recorded, it's been live streamed. The notice of when the video recording is available will be sent out via email probably 3 to 4 days from now. We also have been notified that Tom Spitznagel, who many of you know is a past board member and has been a volunteer, was on Republican Roundtable. That video should be available at about the same timing. If we get the link for that, we'll include that in our notification. If you want more information about any of today's announcements, including there is a Pints and Politics today down in Apple Valley, so I've got that brochure here as well. If you want any information about what I've talked about, come up, use your phone to take a picture of the information so you've got the details. Now, are there 30-second announcements? I have a note here from Sherry Wallace.
You might think that I follow Adam around, but I don't, but I should. I'm talking about an event in Minnesota that started in Minnesota every other year. It's called Speaking Proudly. It is a speaking contest for high school girls. The topic is the Constitution. They are given 8 minutes to speak. It's judged by about 30 judges throughout the day. They give their speech 4 times. And it's just an excellent way for these girls to have a challenge. We have raised $6,000 for the rewards. Last year, or 2 years ago, this is every other year, a freshman won, and she won $2,500. And she didn't even have her driver's license yet, but it's just the excitement of we are rewarding excellent speakers. It's no one knows the background or the name of those who speak, but it's a blind competition, but we do that on purpose. We really are after terrific speeches. The final 3 speeches are held in the Rotunda. The event date will be announced in February, and and also the speech topic, but it's always about the Constitution. So if you could think of any high school girls that would have the courage and the excitement to understand government and history, we would encourage you to pay attention to speakingproudly.org.
Thank you, Sherry. We had someone here from Abigail Walters' campaign. Very quickly.
Yes, I come from Northeast Minneapolis, where we've got our primary going on today, and despite Mr. Cranky's dire prediction, we really don't have an option other than putting up a candidate with our brand new organization in Minneapolis that's under 2 years old. So we've got a lot done in the last year and a half, and we've got Abby running. I've handed out these to most everybody, I think, but if specifically what I'm asking for today is if anybody can come Sunday morning to help us canvass outside some of the churches in Northeast, let me know and we can get you a place to stand. There's no walking involved, and we're going to work our butts off for the next 2 weekends to get this done. So thank you all, and let me know. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Mary. And Mary will be up here in the corner. Please see her if you can help out with that. Are there other announcements? You have the microphone. Dale, would you come forward, please? Let's shorten this up.
I can probably just do it from here.
No, we can't. So let's get a microphone to you.
I'm not loud enough. That's a rarity. Good morning. My name is Dale Johnson. I got a call this last week, and I was reminded that I had gotten a call like that about 6 months ago. The call was, hey, we are from this association. We're with Medica. We're with Medicare. And we want to make sure, did you get your plastic Medicare card yet? If you get a call like that, Medicare doesn't call. There is no plastic Medicare card. Hang up. It is a fraud, and they're after information. Medicare doesn't call. So if you get a call like that, hang it up. And it'll even probably come from a local number. And it is not a local call. The accent and all the people talking in the background, like our first guest, you know that something's funny. But we want to see if you got your Medicare plastic card yet. Hang up.
Thank you very much. Are there other very brief announcements? All right. Seeing none, we have 2 gift cards to give away as our door prizes. If your ticket ends 0522, please see me. I have your door prize gift card. 0522. We have a winner. And our second one, 0529. 0529. Are you here? 0529? Do we need to draw again? Sherry, would you draw again? How about 0511? All right. Come on forward. Thank you so much. We'll see you February 11th. Thank you all.
Republican Seniors of Minnesota. For more information, please visit republicanseniorsmn.com. While visiting our website, you can click on the video tab to watch videos of past meetings. Also, look for other tabs that bring you to our live player and other special video programs. Or on YouTube, search for Republican Seniors of Minnesota.